Ahoy there. Welcome to the Golden Stripes podcast. I'm V.S. Parani coming to you from sunny Cyprus. In our episodes, we discuss maritime leadership, toolbox topics, and have deep dive interviews with maritime experts. You can download and listen to our conversations whether you're on land, sea, or on travel. On a ship or in an office, we usually work as one team to achieve our goals, whether it's reaching the next port safely, or completing a dry dock within budget, or running a ship management company. It becomes possible only with teamwork. We typically spend most of our waking time in the office or on ship with our colleagues than we spend the time with our family. A good working relationship, therefore, is essential for a happy working career and even for our mental health. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work smoothly. There is interpersonal or interdepartmental friction that makes life miserable. Aggression is stated as one of the prominent causes of mental health issues on board ships. To talk more about interdepartmental relationships on board, I have two special guests with me today. Praneeth Mehta is a chief engineer and Vijay Sharma is a captain. Though I'm an ex-captain myself, I will be moderating and I will try not to take sides. Captain Vijay Sharma is a chemical tanker expert, and for the last 2 years, he has been working ashore with various ship management companies. Praneeth is also an entrepreneur. He recently set up the Merchant Navy DECODED platform, where his mission is to create a community for seafarers where the right guidance is easily available, with an aim to develop purpose-driven leaders. You will find a video of this podcast on his YouTube channel, and I will include the link to the video in the show notes. Welcome to the podcast, Praneeth and Vijay.
Thank you, Captain Parani. Thank you, Vijay, sir.
Thank you, Praneeth. Thank you, Parani.
When I was sailing, people often referred to the relationship between deck and engine department as oil and water don't mix. I recently heard from a colleague that the aim now is for an emulsified relationship. An emulsion, for those of you who have forgotten your class 12 physics or chemistry, is a stable mixture of oil and water that cannot be broken down, even under pressure. I would like to ask you now, Praneeth and Vijay, about the state of working relationship on board these days, and how have you seen it evolving in the years that you have been at sea? Praneeth, do you want to go first?
Yes, sir. I would love to go first. So, sir, I have a lot of stories to share, so I'll start with the first. The first story was when I was very young. So this story goes like this, that there is this Guru Nanak Dev Ji is a huge Sikh leader, the first Sikh leader who started this. So he was at a roadside sitting, and people came and they asked that what kind of people are there in the next town. So he said, from where you are coming, what kind of people are there? They said their people are very rude there. So he said, you'll find the same rude people over there as well. Then he was sitting again. Another set of people came and they asked, what kind of people are there in the next town? He said, from the town you're coming, what kind of people were there? Oh, they were very good, jovial, nice. Oh, you'll find the same people there. And that was his disciple sitting over there asked, the same town, you're saying the people are good and bad. How do you say that? He said, it depends on what kind of person you are. So for me, Captain Parani, it has always been who I am. Say, if I'm good, I'll always find good people. If I am really not a good leader, I am there to find flaws in people. I'll find those people. And I've seen that happening throughout my life as well. So when I was a junior engineer, I was a fourth engineer, I've seen there have been literally fights between a captain and a chief engineer happening, not going together at all well. And we used to enjoy as juniors. Arey, see, they are not gelling up together. They're having their fights. And we used to enjoy. And but I always realize one thing, that one day I will become a chief engineer. I hope my juniors don't feel the same and they enjoy the same things out there. So this was also a pair that stayed with me. Now, coming back to the answer, I think so. Okay, this is always gonna stay till the time the leaders out there on ship do not understand its importance. If the leaders are good, the things are going to be really good and streamlined out there. If the leaders are not good, it is not going to be like there. Like being a second engineer, if I had a close proximity with a chief officer, sometimes my chief used to feel, "Arey, you have a very close proximity with chief officer. Why do you do that? You have a you don't you think that you should be more towards the engine side?" So I told him I am towards the engine side, but being with a chief officer makes my job easier. If I today give him two people to work, tomorrow when some oil spill happens down below engine room, he'll be the first one to send the five people down below as well. So why shouldn't I take the first lead? So, and that same thing happened. I realized when I was young, I used to think, why am I? Some of my chief engineers captains were really good. So they also taught me what good leadership is. They always used to have their tea together at tea time. My chief was spending most of his time at bridge, or at times even in his cabin, or captain coming and having a chat together in his cabin. So they are like best buddies together. What did they talk all the time and all those things happening? But now I realize, for a very good atmosphere on board ship, these are the two most important people. Then comes second chief officer, who need to really gel well together. If they are gelling together well, for the sake of the ships, for the sake of ship, I think 90% of the job is done. And I now want Captain Vijay to continue for.
Thank you, Pranit. I think you covered most of the things I wanted to say. Again, as Parani said earlier, examples always help to relate as a seafarers. So, as a cadet, it was my first ship as a cadet on the bulk carrier in my first company. So, I would say that my 9 months, even though chief officer is supposed to be my mentor and my training officer, but I had a very good relationship with second engineer. So I was a cadet and he was a second engineer. And not because he taught me technical stuff, because it was a first ship, I'm supposed to learn the ship, but because of the relationship, he treated me like his younger brother, I would say. And then there was a TT, and I had no idea about TT. Then he used to take time, come to the launch and play TT with me and teach me. So that is where I learned the basics. And then he partnered with me as well in one of the tournaments. Now, he could have chosen fourth engineer, he could have chosen engine cadet, but he chose me. So that's where I had this learning that there is no difference between deck and engine. Yes, there have been challenges, there are politics, there are rivalries. Some of the examples, I think it's very common that engineers have this 4 months of engineering, marine course, mechanical course, and then this deck officers do this pre-C of 3 months. Then now it's 1 year, and then they become officers. So that one difference people have. But again, it's like I always say, ship is like a family. As you mentioned, second engineer and chief officer should be the best of friends. When I was a third mate on one of the tankers, the chief mate who was doing tank cleaning, it was a chemical tanker, and the tank cleaning on chemical tankers is very exhaustive. So he told me that always have a very third engineer, fourth engineer, second officer, because mostly you guy, I mean, these guys keep the similar watches. The time zone, I mean, the time of these watches is the same. And as a chief mate, the second engineer is your best friend, and as a master, chief engineer. So if these people are in a very good relationship with each other, especially the top four, I'm stressing on this, especially the top four, because juniors they look up to, like you mentioned, people were enjoying when there was a dispute between the management, top management. That should not happen. See, master and chief engineer should be the best of friends. If at all there are some disputes, then professionally they should maintain a very healthy relationship, because juniors are looking up to them. And then if that is existing, the life on board for everything, the ship is going to run smoothly, the owners will be happy, the managers will be happy, the operations charters, everybody is happy, all the stakeholders are happy. Those two people are very important. Over to you, Parani.
Yeah. See, I agree with what you've just said. And I think everyone in their hearts and minds, they want to have a good relationship. Nobody goes to the ship thinking that, I want to have some friction or some drama on board. But what happens is, and I'll give you a couple of examples, is it escalates slowly. So on my first ship as chief mate, okay, I was still quite raw, new into the rank. So, and this was a container ship. Okay. And the deck crew, they came to me with a complaint. They said, we have the Wilden pump in the soap locker, and the engine crew, they come and take the Wilden pump, and they don't keep it back properly, and it's oily, and we can't use it. And so I said, okay, let me speak to the second engineer. I spoke to him. He said, okay, we'll take care. And this happened 3 or 4 times. And the 5th time, I also lost my temper. I said, the next time they came, I said, sorry, you can't have it. All right. So then immediately in the afternoon, the chief engineer came to the bridge, like he was in a totally aggressive mode. He said, if you won't give me the Wilton pump, I will stop the fresh water for the ship. I said, hey, let's take it easy. Let's step back a bit and let's be cool about it. Okay, we kind of resolved it, but the ill feeling remained throughout the remainder of the voyage. There was a bit of tension always there. It was not, we were no more, we were on very good terms before that incident. We used to sit and have a breakfast together or dinner together. But after that, there was a bit of a cold war, if you can think. And okay, luckily it didn't escalate much, but I have seen situations where this cold war or tension persists, and then the smallest thing, it explodes. And to such an extent that it is not professional anymore. To give you an example, once when I was a cadet, I saw the chief engineer and captain sitting on the dinner table, and the chief engineer, there was a fly in his soup. And he said, Captain, why is there a fly in my soup? And I know you asked the cook to put the fly in my soup deliberately. So things can get out of hand very soon. And of course, there are other situations, like I said, it escalates slowly. So you have complaints, the engine crew, they use the lift for taking the oily waste out, and it is dirty, and so on and so forth. So initially, I used to get as well upset as a chief mate. I used to get upset, but then after the next couple of ships as chief mate, I said, look, guys, this is an old ship. Those guys are overworked. Let's lend them a hand. Let's do it. We're all one team, and let's do this extra work for them. It's not about who does more. It's about doing it all together. This is one ship. So when it comes to such kind of situations, what advice would you have for officers who are still, growing up in the ranks, and they've not had, we have podcasts now to discuss such topics. We didn't have such resources, and you were lucky if you got a good chief officer or a second engineer, in your case, Vijay, to mentor you. But if you don't have, what advice would you give them?
I will take this up, Pranit, if you allow me.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to take it.
Okay. See, some people are lucky. They may not have such experiences, and they will pass on the good things to their juniors. And for such instances, I would say it's not only between deck and engine. It also happens between the various ranks amongst one department itself. But then that's how the shipping is. You are supposed to learn from each mistakes, make sure that you don't repeat them, make sure your juniors do not repeat them. In case of such rivalries, again, I would say that it is your family. You might have this rivalry, and in the heat of the moment, you might speak something or you might do something, but you are going to regret that, because next day again you both need to work together. Again, there will be some tasks where you both need to work together professionally. So might as well work as a family. Now, there are various disputes which can be easily be solved by talking, escalating to your senior members, and by having a very peaceful conversation. So it's not that in my 17 years of career I had never had any disputes. One example was my first trip as a master, my first contract as a master. I had a very senior chief engineer, very senior chief engineer, matrix chief engineer, I would say. But then his way of working and style was totally different. So one example is that the technical emails used to come to the master, and then I used to forward it to the chief engineer. So many times I used to forward it to him, and I used to mention, "Dear chief, please look into this." And then he was kind of upset that I was kind of giving in instructions, or I was letting him know that please reply to this. So that was my way of courtesy, that because he's a chief engineer and almost counterpart. So it's not good for me to send just blank email, just forward it. So he didn't like it. Then he approached me, and then he told me that you are writing this. This is not good. I'm a chief engineer with such a vast experience. I know my job, and if you feel that you know more, then you please reply to the technical emails. Now that was the heat of the moment. Now, as a young master, probably there were two options: either to fight back, say something, because how can he tell this to the master of the ship? But then I know that next day when I need engines, I have to ask him. When I need boiler for tank cleaning, I need him. When I need power packs, I need him. So it's like a family. So I took a step back. Okay, that was then I when the things got calmed down in the evening over bottle of beer, told him that this is my way of approach. But if you don't like it, I will just send you the message forward directly. So there was a talk. We both resolved the issues, and then the remainder of our contracts, for his contract, he signed off before me. Things went well, because if there is an emergency and if there are rivalries amongst team members, there is going to be an accident. It is an incident, but then some disaster may take place, which we don't want as a family on board. So resolve your minor issues through talks, try to avoid in the first place, and never let juniors take advantage of this, because once they have this feeling that the top four are not in good terms with each other, they start taking advantage, which we don't want, and then the entire ship's operation goes for a toss.
Praneeth, taking the example from Vijay about the master having to give the email to chief engineer to have a look. I don't know if this was the days before LAN, you had a LAN connection to the engine room. But now with the LAN connection, the technical superintendent directly communicates with the chief engineer and they can give a response. So do you think system-wise, there are things that we can do to reduce friction? And maybe the way things are organized. So for example, one is responding to emails directly from technical superintendent to chief engineer. In some companies, you have chief mate reporting to the chief engineer for maintenance issues. Or there may be other good practices that help reduce the friction between departments. Can you share some such best practices?
So the basic practice that I feel, I believe that it always starts here. So when somebody, I've seen that happening in the engine room, maybe it has happening in the deck side in different well share. Like in Hindi, I'm using it. Maybe you can. अरे deck वालों को क्या काम है, कुछ नहीं आता है, 12th करके आ जाते हैं. These are the words that just done their 12th and they come over here. We have done 4 years engineering and we are superior. Similarly, other thing is, उनको क्या काम है, हम लोग, we are working at 40 degrees, 50 degrees, 55 degrees temperatures. They are there doing navigation, nothing much to do out there. We are solving their problems. Every time they have a problem, we have to cater to that problem. Why do they call us all the time? Now, it's all over here. Now, if these kinds of talks are happening in your CCR or on your bridge or your engine room, no matter what kind of best practices you make, nothing is going to get sorted, because what is over here, that is going to come out over here. I recently got a message from a young boy who's a DECODED in a good company right now. I won't name the company. He's saying second officer scolds him, telling him, why do you mingle with the engine side people more? I've got a screenshot. I would love to share that, hiding that name. So if we say that it was happening before, it is happening today itself. Now, if I'm explaining this cadet, don't do this, don't understand. He is maybe old school, but you become new. So Captain Vijay has used again and again this word called family, family, family. I believe the thought process matters. I'll share an incident which will open up your eyes. What has happened recently? 1.5 years back, 2 years back, I don't know whether I discussed with Captain Vijay or not. I just joined social media, and I joined a live Instagram with the 3 other captains. So I was the only chief engineer out there. So before that, I had made a video with one of our social media influencers where I said that I'm happy being a chief engineer because with less legal implications on me, I'm getting approximately the same salary, because captain is the boss of the ship. Anything goes wrong, he's the first one to be answering those answers, those mails, everything. And I'm happy being what I'm doing. I love reading manuals. I love solving problems. I love what I'm doing. And I'm getting approximately the same salary with less legal implications. So now I was interested in what I'm not comparing with, but what I'm doing, I'm happy with that. So now when this live sessions happened, so one of the gentlemen started, that means you want to say that the captain salary should be more because he has got more applications. Now, it can go out, and now 200 people are watching this again, like onboard in engine room. So juniors will laugh if today something goes wrong. I can take that matter escalated, but does not make sense. I simply said, see, I'm not interested in what a captain is getting. I'm interested in what I am getting. Am I happy with that or not? But this thing ended there. I ended it. It did not escalate on social media in live when 200 people are watching. But can you imagine, after 1.5 years, one day, one of my batchmates sent me a screenshot. Arey, Praneeth, what have you done? There is an uproar happening in one of the chief engineers group where the people are abusing you like anything, that he is chamcha or of captains out there and telling their salary should be more and they should get more. And trust me, the abuses you cannot even imagine. I had the courage to get into the group. I said, what kind of video are you talking about? Do you even know the intent with what I said? Why I said the kind of good work that I'm doing, at least look at that. One person joined, and I know that name, and maybe I'll meet him someday, a chief engineer again in a respectable shipping company. No, you smiled in that video. I watched that video. That means you agreed with this thing, and I'm throwing you out of this WhatsApp group. And I was thrown out. That's it. So I am sharing an incident which happened on 6 months back with me recently in a chief engineers group. And again, when that live was happening, if you can watch again, something was wrong. I do not know. So what I'm saying is, if this mindset changes, we are in good space. If this mindset does not change, we are in bad space. As a chief engineer, I go on ship and I tell them, they are asking for 2 people, give them now. My second year, Saab, aap unki side leta hai, you take their side. By giving 2 people for 2 hours, how does that matter? I want to say that if we can live cordially and happily together. I said, if engine room suffers for 2 hours, I don't mind. It is my engine room. But at the end of the day, that courtesy and that whenever I'm going through a meeting, kaise ho yaar, all good. When we are having the dinner together, it is a good dinner having together. Captain sab, chalo saath mein dinner karte hain. Maybe let's play TT together. That should be there. Suppose after a whole day work, you are sitting at a table together and you're thinking, I am coming. I hope captain should not come today, right now. And I will leave before he comes. Or captain, again, I'll find that bada sahab sitting over there. I'll go after 15-20. And I've seen that happening live out there. And it happens in other domains as well. So I want to say to every youngster out there, whenever this kind of thing comes up, deck wala aisa nahi karta, engine wala aisa nahi karta, don't become a part. Deep inside, keep saying, Praneeth sir, or I have heard this thing out here. You don't have to think about it. Think about we all are together. We are like a family together. We are no different person. If this happens over here, everything will be sorted. This is what I believe.
Okay. So I'm going to throw the question back at you, Praneeth. So, like I said earlier, no one comes to the ship or goes to an office wanting to pick a fight. But then the circumstances evolve. And some of us can handle the situation well. And it may happen to the same person. Like I said, on my first ship as a chief mate, I handled it less better than I was a more mature chief mate or a master, So even we change, but the way we handle it, it differs from situation to situation. I mean, on a ship, you have stress anyway. You have the stress of work, you have the stress of heat. I mean, you can imagine working in such a hot environment or a cold environment. You're already stressed. You have the stress of family. So on top of that, one small interaction here and there can go really bad. And then once it goes bad, and like we discussed, like you gave an example and I gave earlier, you have this tension, which is simmering below the surface, and that's not healthy, and this has got real life implications. So if we look at, for example, if you look at the investigation report of the container ship Hanjin Bombay, which grounded in New Zealand a few years ago, the investigation report said that the engine, there was the engine was shutting down because of the cooling water high temperature. Okay, but the engine room team, instead of informing the bridge immediately, they were trying to figure out things for themselves, and the ship ultimately grounded. But what the investigation report said, that if the bridge team, I'm including the pilot also in the bridge team, they had known about this earlier, they could have anchored in a safe place before going into the narrow channel where there was no room to do anything. You couldn't anchor because you have a deep channel with submarine cables. You can't anchor, so the ship went aground. So this has got real life implications when people are hesitant to communicate because they have a kind of conflict going on. Okay, so the topic we are discussing today has got real life consequences for the ship's safety. It's not a nice to have, but it's a must have. Okay, so having said this, Praneeth, give me 5 points where usually that you feel engine room people have a complaint with the deck. Okay, one, you said, okay, these guys are always in clean uniforms, and I have heard that remark earlier. These guys are in clean uniforms while we are working, and in air condition while we are working in hot environments. And Vijay mentioned that they keep calling for everything. They want the deck water, and they want to stop. They want to pump the bilges. So there is this nuisance. But give me 5 points where you think are pain points for ship's engineers.
Engineers are going to love me for this, and maybe deck side people will hate me for this. And I hope I live up to their expectations right now. Engineers, let's go ahead. This is our chance to prove us this. Okay, fine. So first thing that I have seen over there is happening is when an engineer's got to think, problem is ki yaar, I am a graduate. I have done 4 years BTech Marine Engineering, and someone who's giving me instructions is he has just done class 12. This is one of the basic things that comes up, and then he has done this. Maybe he has got a BSc Nautical Science degree. How can he give me? Yeah, this is a mindset that how can they give me order? Ye ek problem. Second problem that I have understood is that for any problem, they will call us. Okay, deck water is not reaching, the pressure is not increasing, why it is not increasing. So this is another problem. Any technical, they are not closing. We are here to do our job in engine room. We have got sufficient job. Why are we there to look at the deck side jobs if this is not closing, the hatch is not closing, all those things not happening. Second thing. Third is, fitter is our thing. Fitter. We can't give him on deck out there to do this job. We have got so many jobs out there. And then we take it on our ego. Fitter, he's our, how can he go on deck? And that way the fitter will also come and escalate that thing. Arey saab, today you were not there to work with me and they made me do it. Arey, don't worry. We are here to help you. Never again. Bada Saab, please make sure fitter is not going to go there alone. So third. Fourth, I would say is temperature. Like on one hand, when we are there, again, I'm saying we by, I want to say captain also, Captain Vijay to also say we out there, that we right now, एक rivalry की बात, you have to keep it that way. We out there are slogging at 48, 52 degrees centigrade temperature, 14 hours, 15 hours, generator car, main engine, something like that happening. They're just doing a lookout out there on bridge, nothing much to do. Completely unethical, incorrect, but what I'm just trying to put over here. Fourth point. Fifth point. Yes, I have to add, please. Give me patience.
Okay, while you're thinking, Praneeth, let me just run a quick analysis. So the fitter is an operational issue, okay, which I can understand. But the remaining points and making calls in the engine room for pressure, this is also an operational issue. But the remaining 2 points that you talked about, the engineers being more educated and then staying in the air condition, these are same, like what I mentioned. These are already preconceived notions. This has got nothing to do with the existing circumstance. So that is a chip that engineers are carrying, right? So you want to go with the fifth point?
Let Captain Vijay start. Till the time I'm thinking of the fifth point.
Okay.
Okay, Vijay.
Might as well. I will only give you the fifth one.
Yeah.
Okay. Degree thing, that's the entry criteria for deck officers. The third mate now, it's 1 year plus 3 years nautical science, and then the degree for this 1 year. So that's a separate thing that can't do anything. Fitter, yes, it's an operational issue wherein because of the less manpower and the number of deck crew on ships have come down, and then for the special operations, for critical operations, they ask for motormen for mooring operations, which is again a very controversial decision. And again, fitter for the deck repair work, which good companies, when they know the age is deteriorating, then they provide a deck fitter. Calling for everything, yes. If there is a technical issue, if the water is not coming, if the engineers have started the pump, if the water is not coming, so I would say the call is good, because then something you have not opened up right, or the lineup is not right, and it might as well ruin the GS pump running dry, or the water is going elsewhere. Maybe it is flooding your engine room. So that call will help you avoid flooding in the engine room. And yes, for this call, the practice is, I have seen third mates and second mates, when they call engine room and you can hear that siren ringing, anybody on deck or near accommodation can make out that somebody is calling engine room. And many times engineers are working down at the bottom of the platform. I know engine room, it's very hot. Plus, I have a huge respect for the engineers for that staircase from bottom of the engine room to coming up. Not on the container ships where the elevators are there. For the normal tanker, almost 17, 18 meters of staircase up and down, just to receive a call, just to say ki pani aaya nahi, or pani nahi aa raha, something. He must be like, I'm lining up, I will start it. So that, I think, I tell my guys, if you call once, do not call again. He knows that bridge is called, and probably he will complete his verb. He is working on the boiler platform. He will come down. He will call the bridge that, did you call? Then, okay, bridge did not call. Okay, then you will call chief engineer that, did you call? Is going to happen. There's no point calling 100 times unless it's a dire emergency. Then that is a totally different thing. And temperature, you mentioned it's very hot. I would say if you're in Gulf, then you ask the deck guys. If your engineers are having the AC cooling going on in the engine room, the deck AB and OS keeping watches and pumpmen rigging the gangways, you ask them how tough it is for them to even stay 20 minutes on deck without hydrating themselves. And last one, nothing to do. You mentioned, again, just a friendly banter that we are doing. So bridge is fine. Yes, keeping watches, nothing to do. But if the guy actually is doing nothing, we will have another case study or any another discussion happening elsewhere, and another investigation going on that this vessel got grounded or collision, if the guy was actually doing nothing. So 23, 20 people, engineers keeping their watches in the engine room are safe because the duty officer is actually supposed to do a very good job by doing nothing so that he ensures that ship is not getting grounded, ship is not getting collided, and taking him from point A to point B for his 4 hours. And similarly, the other officers. Did you get your fifth point?
No, no. I actually wanted 5 points from your end, which if they are right now you have given actually the answer to my thing, but actually I'm waiting for knowing where the captains or the deck side people have got complaints from engineers. Yes.
See, I don't think I will be able to gather. I have always had a huge respect for engineers since I was a third mate, second mate, and always a friendly relation. But some of the concerns, like, okay, as a master, you ask for maximum speed, but then, if there is a the weather is challenging, so engineers will always keep few RPMs in hand. Then, no, the load is already on maximum, but he knows that the load is not on maximum. He can still go more. Then, I have to tell Bada Sahab that, Bada Sahab, we are reaching at 2 o'clock in the night, then the notice will be in the midnight, it will ruin both the rest hours for everyone. So if you can give me a bit of speed, we can reach early. We know that we are going to anchor. Oh, that's the reason. Okay. Give the speed.
And for listeners who are not from India, Bada Sahab means chief engineer. Go ahead, Vijay. Yeah.
Bada Sahab, chief engineer. And other concerns faced was this, when we need the water, the steam on deck for recirculating the cargo or hitting the cargo or for tank cleaning, then yes, the third engineer who is in charge of the boiler, his typical is is already on maximum load. And then you need the temperature because the cargo is actually very challenging. So you need the temperature. So that is the time the relationship helps, because he has told you that it's on maximum load. You will, since you're not a technical expert, you cannot see the screen and make out. But then that is the time you have to speak to the chief engineer, master chief engineer, or chief mate will speak to the second engineer that there is a real concern. If possible, can you give me a little bit of more load and give me more steam pressure on deck? And that is the time, the engineers will go to an extent to help the deck guys, if that, the healthy relation is maintained on board. Because if you had a rivalry and you didn't help them when it was needed, or vice versa, he will not go to that extreme. He said, this is the normal working load, I cannot give more than this. But if there is a very happy go relationship, deck side should go to an extreme to help the engineers will go to an extreme to help the deck side, because at the end of the day, the ship has to reach point B. The ship has to tender NOR to load the cargo, because if she doesn't, it's a loss, lose situation, bad situation for everyone. Doesn't matter master or chief engineer. So that way. Others, I think Parani will have to help me, which complaints we had. Yes, one of the very funny complaints, I think it's very known that whenever we are picking up provisions.
Yes. Yeah,
so you call for support from the engine room. So if they have 2 motormen, or maybe 1 motorman and 1 fitter, there will be only 1 person coming on deck. And if the bunkering is going on, bunkering is going on, then probably no person from the engine room to assist. And yes, same goes for landing garbage also. Sometimes you don't find engineers, the engine crew, they'll just dump the garbage in the garbage locker, and then they expect that it's the deck guys to land it ashore. But again, these are very few happy situations where this friendly banters take place. But again, if you have a very good relation, one small example, Parani, like this, we had this nitrogen room. Now, nitrogen room we had on the tankers, and then now whose responsibility is? Now it is a machinery space, but it is on deck.
Who will clean? Who will
So
clean
it was like, okay, the motorman's duty to clean the floor and the bulkheads, but again, it is on deck. So why should he do it? So that discussion happened. Then, then we discussed that, okay, 1 from deck, 1 from engine, so that there is no politics at all over this. Both are happy, because at the end of the day, we want it to be clean. So 1 from deck, 1 from engine room. You find a common solution so that everybody is happy.
Yeah. And I can relate to similar examples as well. So, like I was saying, on one of the ships, you had one of the lower decks where the ratings, they shared the cabins. So there was a roster about which day which team will clean, and then let's say if there's some engine work going on, you have let's say the guys from engine room not able to clean, and then you have squabbles about and the tension sometimes starts off between two ratings, why you guys didn't clean, and then it kind of escalates into a larger problem. How you have given a couple of solutions. You said, okay, you kind of de-escalate, you find a compromise in such situations. And mind you, we are talking details, but these details matter because these are the small things which kind of escalate into larger issues. And then the solution is often trying to diffuse the situation when it is still small. Okay. And sometimes you just accept that you're the one who needs to step up and take ownership of the issue and solve it. And I heard a wise man once say, a relationship between two people is 60-40 for each of them. I mean, you may obviously you will ask, if it's 60 for both people, then it's 120. But what this wise man was trying to say is, we do, if we think it is just 50-50, it is very transactional. So it's like tit for tat. But if it's 60-40, you try and do more than what you are obliged to do, and vice versa for the other person. So that way, you kind of this extra 20% acts like a shock absorber. So whenever there's load on more on one side, you give more of yourself or from your team, and then the other way around. So I found this to be a good advice, both in my personal life and in my professional life. But could you give some more tips of how to deal with these situations, or what advice? Now, you gave the complaints, Praneeth, right, about giving calls and the fitter, and Vijay responded to some of those questions. But you also have to say, what would you like to see different from the deck department? How do you think the deck department can solve your problem? And then Vijay, you have to give your point of view on how the engine department can solve when I mean you, it means the deck department. All yours, Praneeth.
See, first of all, thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Captain Vijay pointed out really very well, and I think so, I was more towards the vigorous side and he was very subtle, but I'll put it in a different way. See, when he said about that from the engine side, you don't get speed. Sometimes it is about COPT, not getting more RPM, not getting more load on deck. It is more of a mental barrier. And I am here apologizing, or I would say I accept this out here, even I have done the same. See, what happens as a chief, and when you go, you see a COPT where the maximum you have given is 1150. Oh yeah, this is safe. Now, we do not know how machinery is going to respond after 1180 or 1200. If something goes wrong, then something changes. And also, we need to understand that as engineers, we are not, at least I do not know about everybody, but when I say about it, I want to say about, now I'll say about myself, that I was never much commercially inclined. How much time are we saving? How much money are we saving? I was more towards looking at engine room, machinery is working fine, no spills, nothing, PMS working fine, Jai Mata. So if now what Captain Vijay did was he told, now I as a chief here, I will not understand the commercial angle, but he made me understand the thing. Oh, Bada Sahab, if you increase the space slightly, maybe we'll reach at 9 p.m. Everybody will have a good sleep. It works. So this might work. If RPM increase, maybe Bada Sahab, if you increase it a little bit, and looking at your cautious thing, maybe if you do this thing can go over here. Because there is a mental barrier, because nobody has maybe gone up to that level. And sometimes you do not know at times how a machinery is going to behave at that point. And I have seen at places where I have taken things into my control and gone up to a certain level, I have regretted later as well. Array, I should not have done that. Now this thing has happened. Now, how am I going to tell the company that this is what I did and why I did? So what I feel is there is needs to a balance, at least at a chief engineer level, that commercial angle, at least I was not very much inclined towards that commercial aspect. So if I can become more commercially inclined, maybe it will help me become a technical superintendent in a better way, which is the next step. And also it will help me understand the ship system as well, key chartering, bunkering and all those things. So maybe this is where as an engineer, we lack, or I would say I lack as of now. Now, second thing is a mental barrier. CUPT RPM, maybe 20 RPM increase, what will happen? Array, nahi. Nobody has gone before up till now. This is the records I've got. I won't go above that. Though the maximum MECR says you can go up to 1300 RPM. But because nobody has not gone, I will also not go. And this trend follows until someday someone comes and changes that thing. So this is one of a mental barrier. Again, coming to the provisions thing or to the bunkering, again, at times you become self-centered. The moment something goes out of engine room, it becomes ki bhaiya to deck side. This is a mindset that is there and it has always been there. And I do not know how it will change, but it has continued till date, till the time I was sailing at least. So the engineers, okay, even the ash, incinerator ash, though everything is being burnt out there from the deck, they have placed it. Okay, we'll put it in the garbage room, but from there, it is their department. It still happens. So now, how can it change? I just have one thing to say. I have seen 1 or 2 ships only in my career where this thing never I saw existed. And those 2 things were where the chief officer used to regularly or second used to regularly have tea together. Because they used to have that tea together. So provisions, bunkering, garbage was never a concern. Because this is a second engineer's domain. So when they had a chief officer, Sir, I need 2 people. Array, I'm sending, don't worry. Array, I need to, array, don't worry, I will take care of this thing. And having that small tea together for 20 minutes every single day, maybe second year going to bridge to have tea in the evening, or chief officer coming down to the engine control room at 10 a.m. to have tea together, that worked wonders on those 2 ships. And on a upper level, chief captain had a very good bonding because they were sailing back to back on that same ship. So these were 2 things that I have seen, I have not been able to do, and have not been able to figure out myself. Just observation. Like you said, stories work.
Yeah, I agree that works a lot. I mean, it may seem like a small thing, but these routines, they work well. So, and of course, it depends on the interpersonal dynamic. And sometimes you're not available for tea or whatever. If it's a busy ship, you don't have time. But I think it does help to have a meal together or a drink together. It definitely helps. Not just about just the fact that you're sharing a meal, but also that during that 15-20 minutes that you spend, you ask each other, how's your day going? What have you got planned? So he says, look, I'm doing this. It's like almost like an informal toolbox meeting. So, I've got this. So we are busy in this. So the other guy knows that, okay, this is going on. So there is no incompatible task that he will plan. But also he knows that there is a heavy workload. So we have to manage. So you have the information up front rather than getting the information later, which seems like an excuse. So if you say, okay, look, the guys are busy, we can't do it. But after a complaint has been issued, it looks like an excuse. But if you say, look, today we are busy, so we can't do it, there is already, everyone knows, and it seems like a fair deal. So absolutely. So like you said, the chief mate and the second engineer having a tea, or like when I was master, the chief engineer and me, we used to go out on deck after lunch to have a round of the deck. And I used to also schedule a round of the engine room with him. So let's say around before or after tea time, I would go to the engine room as a master, and I'll say, okay, I want to have a look at the engine room. So that way I see the things that are, because I would say I'm the master of the ship, not
That
just
is
the
my
deck.
5th point. That is my 5th point. I got my 5th point.
Yeah, I'm the master of the engine room as well. So we used to go check, how, and he also used to appreciate, because it used to be a fresh pair of eyes. So if, for example, like a thing, like a deck guy can think about, like there are some spare parts which are not secured properly. It may be secured, but you instantly know because of your training that the tensioning is not enough, or the bands that you applied is not enough, and there's a possibility the spare can shift in heavy weather. So you kind of give this useful feedback, and you also have your OKIMF checklist in your mind, and you have a certain conditioning. So you give your independent inputs, and then once you finish the round, you sit and have a cup of tea, and you invite the chief engineer to come on deck and point out the faults. So it works both ways. So chief engineer would come on deck and say, look, this hydraulic line is not like this, it's not okay. So that feedback also, so it's not just one way. You would have these things, information flowing back and forth, and you build a good trust between both departments. And again, coming back to the relationship angle, like I said earlier, it's a 60-40 thing. The other way I look at relationships, both personally and professionally, is it's like a bank account. So you have to keep investing in the relationship. You keep building trust, keep putting trust. And then when there is a kind of crisis situation, you can make your withdrawals. But you need a positive account to make a withdrawal. So you just can't keep complaining and, sorry, your trust account is zero. You can't make any more withdrawals then. But it's something you keep investing, and then it kind of absorbs all the shocks that come.
I have to add something, Captain Prani, because my fifth point came very clear, and I have to share it with you. And now I'm not going to share on behalf of engineers, but I'm going to share on behalf of my experience. So I am a chief engineer on board ship. I'm a second year on board ship. My chief invites captain, okay, come take round, and I'm damn angry. Why are you inviting the captain to take the round out here? My first experience. Second time, I'm a chief here on board ship. My captain wants to come and take round. I did not go along with, let him take round. Go. I take it on myself. See, as a chief engineer, I feel engine room is my territory. Now, as a leader, if a captain can make me feel comfortable that why he's taking the round, and also invite me, okay, you feel that deck is my territory as a captain, you come and take round in my territory. Because as a chief here, I always feel I'm equal to that of captain in terms of pay, in terms of everybody. A mindset I'm talking about. So now, as a leader, as a captain, if you can
that's absolutely right, Praneeth. The chief engineer and captain both have 4 stripes. They are equally in command.
But the boss can be one. Again, now, thank you for putting this one, but there can be only one boss. If there are 2 bosses, then everything will become haywire as well.
Agree. So, of course, the final executive decision lies with the master.
Definitely. That is important. So, and as an engineer, we need to realize that as well. Now, for this, again, there are going to be a lot of views and cries. All those engineers are going to listen to this. But we have to realize this thing practically to make sure that things work fine. But if this is your territory as a leader, if a captain can make this thing comfortable, that I am coming as a part, not just because I'm a captain, but because I'm a part, and you come to my territory. If you feel that deck is my territory, then come, let's take round together. I think so the purpose is sorted, because I felt intimidated both the times. I did not know what my chief here was doing, inviting that captain out there. I did not know what the equation was, but things were very fine. But I took it on myself as a second engineer, even as a chief engineer. But the same captain as a chief, when I became comfortable with him, when we were playing Kiki together, everything. One fine day, Captain Vijay, I invited him myself. Chalo, Captain Sab, let's take a round together. Let's go to engine room also and take a round on the deck also. So once we became comfortable, there was no such intimidation, nothing happening. So this is my experience I'm talking.
Over to you, Vijay. Share some of your tips that you employed on board to develop that relationship.
Yes. Okay. Let's say that engineers are plan the overall of the engine, which is one of the very hectic and tedious jobs for unit overall. Now that they have taken permission, and it's 8 to 10 hours average for doing the job. As a master, just tell the chief cook or the messman, just keep 2 cases of soft drinks. Okay, soft drinks in the reefer room, and then drop it down in the ECR. Now this guy is, stressed and tired and come up, and then they have this. So that's one good gesture that will keep a very good relationship. Then you see that, okay, there is no hectic operations on deck. It's just an anchorage for a few days. There is not major maintenance work. Okay, the mate can, ask chief engineer that, do you need OS for assistance, even though they don't have the technical expertise, just to assist in the spanners and the routine cleaning of the bottom plates, that they can do. Even if they might say, no, we are okay, we have adequate manpower, we can do it ourselves. But that courtesy to ask, I think that should be done. And one communication, I think, should be very open and honest for master, chief engineer both. Now, if you're in the channel, and if chief engineer calls that there is a problem in the engine room, we are trying to fix it, then as a master, you have to be very open that, okay, Bada Saab, I mean, the chief engineer, we are in a narrow, there's very congested anchorage. Just give me speed till about 30 minutes or maybe 5 miles, and then there is a good anchors, we can stop drift, and then you can do your troubleshooting. So that way the chief engineer will understand, okay, we are in a very critical situation. Then, bypass and try to get the engine running till we reach a very safe and open place where they can stop and do the troubleshooting and figure out what's the concern, and then rectify. Others, I think respect. Respect is one thing that no matter you are BSc Nautical Science passed out third mate, or DMET passed out fourth engineer, but then I think when you're on board, it's the rank. You're a third mate, you're second engineer, fourth engineer, third engineer, chief. So you respect each other's ranks, your responsibilities which each rank has, what they're contributing to the vessel in their own particular way, and value their opinion. So if a second mate may not have the technical expertise when he's making the noon reports, the third engineer or the fourth engineer, normally they both sit together for the noon reports to the charters and to the owners. So that time, that respect of understanding that, okay, he doesn't have the technical knowledge, so maybe he's asking this question, what is this, what is slip? So respect and help each other out. Empathy, I think empathy is overall, I think, for each member on board to have empathy. Now, if you know that the engineers are stressed and tired in the engine working on some unwanted spill that has happened, so you don't like it's, we do the same in the office job as well. I mean, when shifted ashore, so there's nobody superior. We are here to support. There's no like, okay, HSC manager is a superior to master chief engineer, or so technical superior. No, we are here to support. So the same thing should be on board. You have respect and empathy towards each team members. And then this tea thing, which Pranit also mentioned, which we used to call chai pe charja. So 10 to 10:30, most of the times long sailing, yes, when it is very hectic and short voyages, then it may not happen. But then 10-15 minutes, get the biscuits, get the cookies, get the tea, coffee, and then sit for 10-15 minutes. Half an hour is a bit too much for them to come up, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you plan it one day. Okay, you know that they are working, they are busy. Go to the ECR, get the same arrangements done in the ECR. I used to spend time in the ECR with chief engineer sitting there, because long sailing master, not much to do. So spend down time in the ECR. And anchorages, if you see the overhauling taking place, go down, see what's going on, learn something new. What is this unit? What is this they are trying to open? Learn something else. And the same tank cleaning, it's going on. The tank cleaning machines are not working. Your pump is fixing it, but then you need one additional hand. So that time, nothing much in the engine room. The second engineer, third, fourth engineer, just keeping watches. Can you send the fitter to help? So he will come on deck, help in few of the machineries, take it to the workshop, fix it, and go. So instead of spending 4 days, hectic operation, with the help of engineers, we fixed it in like 3.5 days. So we saved half a day, and then relax, have a good night's sleep. Small things, which is again practically difficult as a master, but yes, if you can, do not unnecessary call for this 1 hour notice when you don't need to, when you know that you're reaching about 4 o'clock, delay the speed, let it be
My
morning
6
6
point.
o'clock.
Thank you very much. My 6 point.
So there's no need to give 2 hours notice. You just discuss in the previous dinner. Tomorrow, Chief Bada Sahab, I mean, we are reaching at about 6 o'clock. What time do you need the notice? We are going to anchor there anyways. It's okay. 1 hour notice is fine. Okay, you give notice accordingly. Try to delay if it is in the daytime. If there is no pressure on the commercial pressure is not there. Let everybody wake up on the normal routine. Yes, if it is hectic, if it is when everybody needs to be there, we can't help it, then you again communicate that I wanted, but it took time, like anchoring. Many times, there's two different masters, two different approach. One will go at a dead slow and take 2 hours to anchor. Other one will go at a half head and drop anchor, wrap up in 1 hour. So again, do not assume, Are, this last captain was too good. Yeah, I mean, he used to anchor in
He
just 1 hour.
assumed.
And why this captain is taking 2 hours? No, this thing will always be there unless you communicate. So, Captain, I think why this, it took long time to anchor today. Yeah, there was one vessel which lost her engines and, it was very close situation. That's why I had to maneuver this and maneuver that. If you don't communicate, maybe you will not understand this, why and how it happened. So there's always a other side of it. So if you don't speak, then that clashes or this thing will be there, and then that having a very healthy relationship might suffer.
10 on 10, sir. Really, बहुत बढ़िया. A small thing to add that you said engine room team doing decarb and just sending 2 cases of cold drink. Oh, sir, it works wonders. It works wonders. Saying, okay, we have nobody has ever done in my whole career, but if some captain or some chief officer does this, what I'm saying is, okay, there is a whole long ceiling and telling, okay, we have got OS free. He can work down there in engine room helping. If that happens, sir, next time you ask for 2 people, I think so engine room is only 3 people. Okay, fine, take work. And I think so it works both ways. So 60-40, what Parani sir said is similar, giving 60, expecting 40, and I think so later on becomes 60 on the other side.
Yeah, and I think we should look at it as relationships. And like I said, we spend more time at work than with our families. So it is worth investing in those relationships and to be mindful about it. And like I said, build a bank account. You can call it a relationship account and offer more than what you can receive. So that helps to tide over tough situations. One last question. Do you have still issues for emergency drills? You plan a drill and then suddenly you get a call from the engine room. So we can't do it today. What's your take on it?
Captain Vijay, yeah, please. ये तो आप handle कीजिए.
Okay, this again, it's very common. Okay, I've been away from sea for 2 years, but again, as a safety manager, I know. Okay, one of the vessels which I was handling had a small fire on board, small fire in the galley. Okay, now galley is one fire, I think, which is very common. If you have no time or if you're not in a mood and fire drill is due, galley fire is one of the best scenarios. So that you go to the galley, put the blanket and all. But in case of real emergencies, then people do different things. I mean, even though they are trained, you will see that they have been donning the fireman outfit, but at the time of real emergencies, they will miss out a lot of things. Then not wear the mask, not wear the bottle correctly, not wear the fireman outfit correctly. People panic. That's what humans are. But then what improves is the regular drills. That is where again you give such scenarios and such cases and to discuss during the debriefing after the drill, that they were share the experiences. One of the ships I had a fire and people really could not. So that is why I'm very focused on the fire and abandoned ship drill. These two drills are, I mean, something where people should be expert. Come what may, in the night 2 o'clock there is an emergency alarm. People should be ready to fight the fire. So that I think we should communicate very openly with the people. And yes, that today is Saturday routine, that you're supposed to have the fire drill or the boat drill, but that there is some urgent work going on in the engine room. and it happens on the deck also many times. The deck, but then by deck master has the power. So okay, chief mate, your tank cleaning is going on, or your cargo operation something preparation is going on. Okay, we will postpone it to Sunday, let's say. Engineers normally they hesitate, but then yes, I've seen chief engineers saying that I my people are busy. I will not be able to send 3 people or maybe 2 people. Very rare, I think he has said, because I think they also respect the fact that drills are important part. So okay, I'll not be able to send 2 people. Then yes, then it's up to the master to decide whether to go ahead with the drill with these 2 people, or I mean with less than these 2 people or not. That's up to him. But then again, listening to each other, finding a common ground to work out the best, which is good for both the teams. Maybe this is the last Saturday. Maybe the vessel is reaching on Monday, and then USCG is there or PSC is there, and we need the drills. Maybe we'll continue. But if there is a long ocean passage sailing, Pacific Atlantic crossing, okay, no issues, Bada sir. We will have a abandoned ship fire drill next time. Now we'll just have a tabletop drill, doing something else. This is what has, I think, my suggestions and points about the drills.
Thanks, Vijay. That's a great point to wrap up from your end. Praneeth, over to you. Final thoughts?
Yeah, the final thought, because I have to say this out loud, and I have to take one name out. In my 14 years career, I have to take name of Captain Shiv Kumar Nair. And this gentleman, as a captain, made sure that a drill was done at a great level. And I used to take so much interest as a chief here. I had never done it ever in my life before. And I'll tell you so why. Because captain himself, dressed in complete boiler suit, wearing those things, everything dressed together, up to the T, was there present during the drill, before drill, after drill, briefing everything, taking everything too damn seriously. At times where I felt let down was at times when I saw that we all are dressed, but one of the captains was in t-shirts, maybe in a pajama, and on walkie-talkie, drilling, giving every command. That is where, as a chief here, maybe I used to feel let down. No, if it's a drill, it's for everyone. So this was one gentleman who made sure that and seeing a captain on board ship at times on a boiler suit, you see that it's a rare sight. A chief here you can see all the time. A chief officer during the port stay all the time, but not captains. So seeing captain out there in a boiler suit, helmets, everything tiptoed together for the drill, you know that this is serious something. And then everybody follows as a leader. This is my take on this, because as a person, I'm saying this because I have felt it from deep within.
I agree with you 100%, Praneeth. During the drill, everyone, top to bottom, needs to be in their working clothes and fully prepared for the drill as if it was a real emergency. And so today, I think we have discussed some very practical situations. I don't think we have spared any, or let's say avoided any topic or discussion, and we have been very open. And again, just to be clear, so that we don't have any hate emails, this is coming from a place of love and respect, and the whole intention is to make sure there is no interdepartmental friction, there is no tension on board, so that whether it's a deck rating or officer, or an engine rating or engine officer, everyone can do their job efficiently and for the safety of the ship. And that is the ultimate aim of this episode, to help you reflect on what are the pinch points, why are the pinch points happening in the first place, and what are some nice tips, whether it's having a tea together, going for a walk, letting each other inspect the ships, a 60-40 relationship, building an account relationship or relationship account, or sending a couple of cases of soft drinks during an overhaul. These are all tips that we can employ and gain each other's respect and trust and work smoothly together. So that's it for today, my friends. Thanks a lot, Praneeth and Vijay, for your valuable feedback during this episode.
Thank you, Parani. Thank you,
Thank
Vijay.
you, Parani, for this opportunity to discuss this very good topic. And thank you, Pranit, for recommending. Again, it's a very good relationship between chief engineer and a master who have not sailed together, just been met few times and been in touch. So I'm happy that you felt the need that this topic you should be discussing. And thank you for your efforts. And thank you, Parani. Looking forward to having further future such podcast. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So that's it for today, my friends. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, feel free to get in touch with Praneeth or Vijay. Their contact details will be in the show notes. Also, feel free to share your feedback with me through my website, parani.org, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I suggest you click the subscribe button on SoundCloud or Spotify so you get notified when new episodes are uploaded. This podcast is free to listen to and download. I only request that you share the link, both of this podcast and Praneeth's YouTube link, with your friends, colleagues, and shipmates, so they can also learn and apply the insights from this podcast. This is Parani signing off, wishing you safe seas and fair winds.